All right. Hey, guys. We are back here once again for the next episode of A Conversation with Kely, episode 82, Allie. I did not realize we did, in fact, cross the 80 episode threshold. So that's very, I guess, exciting that we've done this for like 82 consecutive episodes.
So good.
But as always, we are here to talk about the week that was in Big Brother Canada 10. This is episodes 15 through 17. As always, I am here today, my lovely and beautiful co-host, Allie. How are you doing today?
I am doing well. I had my eyebrows threaded and a mani-pedi to get ready, obviously, for the trip.
Oh, who are you going to see?
Got Starbucks and then just hung out at home. And then I also, because of BB Can, I got myself a strawberry lemonade and a Frosty, which I already ate the Frosty.
I did take a picture. I did take a picture saying she's ready for a Wendy's date, but I don't think it's saved. So
I know. Yeah, I was looking to see if it stayed on Skype, but I didn't get it.
Yeah, I don't think it's saved.
But yeah, who am I gonna see?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out eventually. But my God, I feel like we are having a case of deja vu here, Allie, because once again, here we are talking about another fucking crazy week of BB Can. This week was insane, like generally insane.
Literally.
I don't know. The way most of these people are playing, I generally just do not understand at this point. I don't understand what, and I did hear something about this. I was watching a YouTube video, and I do think this has some weight to it. If you've noticed the past like 2 seasons of BB Can, it's mostly been people who either are like, they know the game, but they haven't watched like every single season, or they just have never watched BB Can at all. And that's happened a lot the last 2 seasons, and that's why we've been getting some of the gameplay that we have. But my God, I mean, just the H reigns, decisions people are making, the fact that nobody can seem to, stay consistent on anything unless your name is Kevin.
Yeah, this week, like, nobody played well, maybe except for Kevin.
Yeah, just in general, I just don't know what anybody is doing anymore. But I will say it's still somewhat fun to watch. It's still somewhat fun to watch.
I mean, it's still a fun season overall. It's very unpredictable.
Yeah, it just sucks that we have certain people on this cast that aren't exactly always making it fun. But we're gonna go ahead and talk about this week, because like I said, there's a lot of crazy stuff to go down here. And I guess if you win HOH on BB Can, it's just gonna like end your game, because I feel like that's been happening a lot lately. So you know what, Allie, we need to stop rooting for the people that we like to win HOH, because it's just going to end up ruining their game. We need to see like JCPenney winning a Veto, win an HOH. We need to see.
Yeah, we need Texaco to win so she can leave soon.
Honestly, that's what we all want. But anyway,
or Steven.
Yeah, or as Summer refers to him this week, Stavros. So anyway, let's get into this week. So, very interesting way they structured the episodes this week. Both episodes end on a cliffhanger. And to be honest, I don't know about you, I feel like for one episode it made sense. For the other episode, it didn't make sense at all.
I think it's because they ended up showing a lot of game on the eviction.
Well, it reminded me of Big Brother 23 last year. If you remember when Christian was going to do like that back door, or the back door was going to happen for Christian. There was a cliffhanger that week. And then the following week, there was also a cliffhanger and it didn't make sense. That's what this very much felt like to me. It was like one episode, it made sense to have a cliffhanger there. But the other episode, it's like, why is this here? But anyway, we'll just go ahead and get into it. The majority of Monday's episode is really kind of like giving us some clarity as to what exactly happened during the double, because I'm sure we all had a lot of questions, as do the house guests. But Hermon is talking about just how bonkers this double eviction was, especially with Tynesha leaving. And Moose hates to see her go because of how much the squad has made a point to stick together, which let's talk about the squad a little bit. This is a very interesting alliance because it's not really a very loyal alliance in that way.
Not. Like, they all are just like friends. They're not really loyal to each other.
Well, it's also because they've kind of been grouped together because of, you know, the ugly narrative that's been going on throughout the house that they still are not showing on the show because, I don't know, I guess they don't want to have to show anything like that. But yeah, I just very interesting the way that's all turned out. Very unfortunate that it's turned out the way as well, because I feel like this is very like fluid house. Everyone's kind of like trying to do their own thing and having to like, you know, group people together like that. It's just not exactly the, you know, not exactly ideal. But Haleena is feeling really bad about what happened and feels like she went against the girls too early. And Moose comforts her and thanks her for keeping him. And I didn't really understand why she was like upset about this, because I feel like because Haleena was talking about how she knew she was at the bottom of that alliance and that, you know, she knew she had to make a move eventually. So then she votes out Tynesha and she's like upset about it. I just didn't really
think it was definitely sweet of her, because like she really did think of Tynesha as a friend.
Well, then she shouldn't have done it. Like, she shouldn't have voted Tanisha out if she was going to be upset about it. Like, generally.
Yeah, I guess she just didn't seem like she was like her number one or anything.
I don't know. I mean, my biggest problem with Haleena right now is that she keeps saying she wants to do things and then she immediately feels bad after she does them. And I just feel like she needs to have more of a backbone. You know, she does not have that much of a backbone in this game. And I feel like that is going to hurt her in the long run, but we'll see. We'll see. She hasn't really been in power much. So like that could also be it. But like, Arisa then tells them about the eviction vote, and we see literally everyone is scrambling about this. And Kevin feels he had to choose Marty to keep him and Haleena's final two as secretive as possible, which it should go without saying. Kevin 100% played this round the best. Like, he absolutely is killing it in this game. If I had to pick someone who I think is in the best spot right now, it is undoubtedly Kevin. He is very much in the middle. He is getting away with so much shit. Not just, and I think some of that is due to just how bad some of these people are playing, but I also think Kevin is just doing a really good job of like covering his bases and checking in with people and things like this. I think is really good from the way he's able to keep that final two with Haleena, you know, as secretive as possible. I think is really impressive. And you know, talks about how he knew Marty was good with her anyway, since Haleena's one of his final twos. So now it makes sense, because I remember when we were watching, we're like, why did he pick Marty? But now it makes sense because
it's just so like he wouldn't actually like expose their final two.
Oh no, I think that makes perfect sense, because it's like if I have a secretive final two with someone, you know, like, I'm not going to automatically save that person.
No, he picked somebody that would keep her safe.
Yeah, because it's going to become exposed if I, you know, really try to like harp on it too much. So I actually think it was very smart of Kevin to, you know, be like, you know, let me pick someone that I know is going to save Haleena anyway. So I don't really need to do too much there. I thought that made a lot of sense for Kevin to do that. So JL is her to not have been picked, but Hermon, Moose, and Summer assure her that the plan is to get Jess out. And Moose then tells her that Gino and Jacey-Lynne are the best competitors to knock them out. That's why they weren't saved. And I thought this made a lot of sense, actually.
It did, yeah.
We know that, and this is I think the thing that's keeping the showmance in the game is that they're both really good at comps, and people can use them as shields in that way. But you know, getting to jury, it's like you can't really do that for too much longer. So it's like I feel like one of them
comps, but they're terrible at the game.
And I feel like we're at a point where one of them is accidentally going to make it all the way to the end. I don't think they're winning, but like I definitely think that's going to happen.
I mean, it would definitely make sense. Like everyone could beat them.
Yeah, just because of the way things have been going, like I definitely see that happening here. But we see that Jacey-Lynne is very happy to have won the safety comp, but sucks seeing Gino still on the block. And Gino tries to keep calm despite this being his first time on the block. And look, Gino is very stoic already, so like him being calm is like really funny to me, because this is how he talks about everything, and he doesn't really like emote or anything like that. But yeah, no. So Gino, I mean, I guess he did a pretty good job, you know, staying calm here and whatnot. Marty then sits down with Kevin, and this is where, you know, we were all confused, because we saw Marty voted out Gino. We didn't know what the hell was going on. Why did Marty go this way? Turns out Kevin was actually the one who orchestrated, because he assures Marty that he made the right choice. And basically Kevin brings up the possibility of flipping the vote because he's turned on Gino before. And Marty says he can't possibly flip on him a second time because he's already promised him that he would give him his vote. And Kevin realizes that they're probably not going to be able to pull off this vote flip if Marty isn't on board. So Josh talks to Betty about possibly flipping as well, knowing that Gino and JL are bigger threats and could come for them at some point. They pull Kevin in, and Josh lets them know that they have Haleena and Marty on board to vote Gino out, and they just need to pull Summer in. And Kevin feels it's better if Jess stays because of how dangerous the showmance is, and Marty's very confused as to why this is happening. And again, the way, let's just talk about Marty here, because look, I've gone on for so many weeks now about how Marty's biggest weakness in the game, the thing that is definitely going to lose him BB can, is his emotions. It is. He's too emotional of a player. He's too reactive of a player. No, I generally just don't think Marty is cut out for Big Brother. Like, after this week, I don't think this is the game for Marty at all, because the way
I'm pretty sure Marty's definitely the house target this upcoming round.
Yeah, and I mean, you think about the fact that Marty's like a fraud investigator and things like that, and just the way he handles this week, I just don't understand how that works. Like, just in general, I just think Marty is really bad socially. He never seems to have any idea what's actually going on. He gets mad at things that don't even really affect him that much, and I just feel like all around, he is 100% playing one of the worst games in the entire house. If it wasn't for Kyle, this would probably be the worst HOH of the season. But because Kyle existed, it's not the worst HOH.
I mean, Jess, Marty, and Kyle were terrible HOHs.
I would say this one's worse than Jess's. I would say this one's worse because at least Jess had a target throughout the week.
True.
Not really the case here, but we'll of course get into that. Just the way Marty handled this whole thing was so ridiculous. But the eviction goes down, and Betty does not give the thumbs up because basically the goal was, Betty was going to give the signal. If she gave the signal, then they were going to vote Jess out. That doesn't happen because Betty didn't feel that Marty was on board with the plan, which is understandable, the way that Marty was handling things. But unbeknownst to her, Marty still votes out Gino. And this is where, again, I'm just confused. Like, Marty didn't like that this was happening. So if you didn't like that it was happening and you knew the votes weren't there to vote out Gino, because he did know, that's the thing. Like, there's a misconception here. People are thinking that Marty didn't know that the plan was off. Marty knew very well that the plan was off because they said it wasn't going to happen, and he still votes Gino. I don't know, Allie. Like, what is his logic here?
I don't know. He was just, he was so frustrating.
So frustrating, and just, I just don't understand this man. I really just don't understand him at all. Anything that he does this week, I'm just constantly just questioning what he was really thinking of.
I feel like also, like, with Haleena's vote, though, it's because she also had a final two with Jess, so she probably just wanted to stay loyal to that. But Marty,
I will say that is a really good move for her if she's able to, like, if she's able to let that stay secret that she was the second vote, because nobody's really questioning like who that second vote was. After a little bit they are, but nobody really seems to be like that hung up about it.
Halena's made sense. Marty's didn't.
Yeah, so I think she did a good job with that. But Marty, just the way he handled it, it just didn't make any sense. Like, if you didn't want Gino out, just don't vote Gino out. Like, he didn't have an obligation to vote Gino out. Like, I didn't understand this. So yeah, just really annoying overall. I was gonna ask you though, do you think this was the right move to not vote Gino out and to vote Jess out instead?
I mean, both definitely do both are a big move, but I mean, Jess is technically alone. Gino actually has a showman, so I mean, either one would have been a good move.
I would have said Gino was more effective if Gino was like not just good at comps and bad at everything else. Because that is very much the case with Gino, is that he is a beast at comps. And
Summer's the only one. Yeah, I think Summer's really the only one who really suspects that it was Haleena.
Yeah, Summer does bring that up, but like aside from that, hi Casey, by the way. Aside from that, Haleena seems to be getting away with that, which is pretty good. But no, I'm of two minds when it comes to this specific plan, because I think on one hand, like, yes, face value, like Jess is probably the bigger threat because of what they did and because of just how, chaotic they were last week and things like that. It's like you can't let someone like that get into the jury and whatnot. But then on the other hand, like Gino is a big threat because he has a showmance, and that's always going to be another vote that's voting with him and whatnot. But again, I think it really just comes down to the fact that like Gino is not really a threat. He just is good at winning comps, and he wins comps when they need him to. And they can use Gino as a threat. Jess is just gonna do their own thing. And I think that's the main reason why I think targeting Jess was probably the optimal.
Jess is more of a wild card too.
Yeah, that too. And also, I think Jess was, especially after last week, it was pretty clear what they were going to do. And I don't think anybody was on the same page. So, except like the showmance and Marty, and maybe Haleena and Kevin. But yeah, so obviously it doesn't end up going through. Marty feels set up, though, by Josh and Betty, even though Josh and Betty are not the ones that presented this to him. He immediately is blaming Josh and Betty because, he now feels he has to lie that he wasn't one of the votes. And we see Jacey-Lynne confronts him on it. He immediately pins them as the 2 rogue votes. And Gino's questioning Betty, thinking that she voted him out. And she's making it clear that like she didn't go through with it and that she wanted Jess out after what happened. And Gino, Marty, Jacey-Lynne, and Kevin start comparing notes about the rogue votes. And again, they pretty much think that Betty and Josh were the 2 here. So again, they really are taking a lot of heat for this. And again, this is another really good move from Kevin. Kevin's just kind of sitting pretty. Like Kevin's the one who pitched this. Kevin initiated this entire plan, presented the idea to Marty. Nobody seems to remember that though. Like it's all Betty and Josh who are taking the heat for it. And I think that's honestly a really great move from Kevin overall.
Yeah.
So I think I think what Kevin did was great. Just the Betty and Josh of it all. I just didn't understand, why so many people were latching onto this. But I guess it's one of those things where it's like, I think it's one of those things where it's like perception's reality after a while. Like, one person tells you something and then you just kind of start to believe it. And yeah, I think that's probably what ended up happening there. But yeah, just crazy stuff overall. But Ellie's going to read more of what goes on.
All right. Gino gets most of the house guests in a room together and questions them as to what happened.
This was so good. I love this.
I really like this too.
Yeah.
Kevin and Haleena both deny any role in this whatsoever. And once again, pin it fully on Betty and Josh.
And both of them, I thought, got out of this pretty well. Like, I was worried for Haleena for a little bit because of the way that she was, like, reacting to it. But I think as a whole, like, both of them were able to get out of this scenario quite well. And I think that's something that is really good about both of them, is that when they're both under pressure, they both are really good at deflecting. Kevin especially is masterful at it.
Kevin's more the outspoken one. Haleena's more the low-key one.
Yeah, and it's definitely working out for both of them.
Yeah. Like, as of right now, I mean, I think I see Haleena getting, like, 4th, maybe at most.
I think so, too.
And then Kevin, it's tough. Like, either they're going to, like, go for him pretty soon, or I could see him making it far. We'll see.
Or he wins. Like, I think it's literally they go for him sooner. He wins the whole thing at this point. Because I just don't see anyone else who's playing as good as him at the moment.
We'll see.
But,
I mean,
there's still time. There's still time.
Every week is very unpredictable, so who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, especially this season, it's like everyone's game changes week by week. Yeah. So,
Summer says that everyone is going to be gunning for HOH, including herself. And the HOH competition is red light, green light.
We apparently are watching Squid Games all of a sudden.
Literally, I saw a tweet about that.
Yeah.
Or no, sorry, they said that about the HOH.
Yeah, that was in regards to the other HOH comp. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is still going on as we speak. Yeah. I can see this. They
can both literally be like Squid Game.
I honestly can see this being a possibility, Casey. I'm not gonna lie to you, especially with the fact that, like, again, Gino is like a GOAT at this point. Like, Gino is the person you take to final 2. I mean, I could very well see that.
Either Gino or Jacey-Lynne could be an easy final 2, or like win.
Yeah.
They all have to land their ring onto a pole when it turns green. Despite many not wanting it, Marty does win this HOH.
Very much shouldn't have gotten it. Like, generally, I don't know why Marty wanted this so badly.
I
Like, he
know.
wasn't in a place where he was, like, sane. He was already, like, coming off of, what ended up happening. And, like, no, I didn't. I didn't because I think at that point, like, it was like Kevin was starting out being like very stealth, but I wasn't really sure how he was going to come out of this week. With the way he came out of this week, now I see it. Now I see it for sure, and I think Kevin has. I think the game is his to lose at this point if he doesn't. If he doesn't go soon.
Mm-hmm.
So. But yeah, no, what I was trying to say is like Marty was like not in a place where like he was even focused on the game at this point. So I really don't know why he went for this HOH. And my God, he shouldn't, because the week we get, Jesus Christ, I mean, it's so unhinged.
I know. He's such a bad HOH.
He's so bad.
Marty isn't exactly happy to win this because of just how messy tonight was and isn't really in a mood to celebrate.
I just could not stand Marty in any of his confessionals. He's like, I'm in no mood to celebrate. I didn't really want this HOH. It's like, why did you go for it then?
Literally. He decides to talk to Gino and admits to him that he was one of the votes for him and once again pins the blame on Betty and Josh. He wants him to steer him in the right direction and essentially control his HOH.
No.
Like, why?
Generally, I don't understand what he was trying to do here because he's so focused on like trying to do damage control with Gino when like that's not what he really needed to do here. What he needed to do is just admit to the fact that like, yeah, I was one of the votes for you to go and just continue targeting him. And then you get Gino out and that's behind you. That's completely behind you after that. And Gino will understand why you're getting him out because of the fact that you turned on him and you have to get him out now. So people will see that, you don't have that loyalty to Gino. And I think Marty wanting so desperately to like cling on this loyalty to Gino, even though Gino says multiple times this week that he's like not going to, like, he's not with him. He wants him out, is really the worst thing that Marty could have done. Like, I think, again, this is such a terrible HOH for so many different reasons.
I don't know why Marty went for either of his HOHs because like his first one, he could have just given it to Steph.
Yeah, honestly.
And then this one, he just if he didn't want it, then don't go for it.
He cares so much about like resume moves and things like that, but it's still like fairly early on in the game. It's like, I just don't understand a lot of what Marty's doing. I think, again, he just really just goes based on emotions. He doesn't think logically through anything. And I think this was one thing that he really just should have rethought. Like, this was not the way to go at all.
Gino tells JL that Marty was one of the votes for him, but that they have the power this week to decide what happens. They bring up how dominant Hermon is right now, and JL is surprised by just how easily manipulated Marty is when they have something so solid.
Exactly. Like, I can't really blame them for like wanting nothing to do with him after this, because like it just seems so fake. It's like, yeah, I voted you out, but I'm on your side and I'm gonna do whatever you tell me. Like, I wouldn't buy that.
I will say this episode or this week, JL actually impressed me that she's actually having game talk with the people other than Gino.
I agree. I mean, I still
don't like her. She's still like very problematic and such, and kind of rude. But I mean, I'm just impressed at least with her game.
Yeah, no, I think I said this to you. I think if Jacey-Lynne were to like lose Gino, like let's say the double eviction happens, they get rid of Gino. Honestly, think that'd be better for her because the conversations that she has this week. She's on the right track. Like, she definitely has some good ideas. It's just she doesn't really follow through with them because she doesn't really do anything that doesn't also benefit Gino. It has to benefit her and Gino, not just her. And I think that's the fundamental problem with Jacey-Lynne is that she's so attached to Gino. It's like she kind of like can't really do anything. And I feel like if Gino were to go, Jacey-Lynne would just be in a much better spot overall. So that's definitely what I got from her this week.
Yeah. Marty decides to take Jacey-Lynne to Wendy's. He receives a video message from Kevin Martin.
Well, apparently he's his favorite player. So
yeah, well, cool, I mean, I love Kevin Martin.
Yeah.
He's just like so sweet, and he is a really good player. And then him and Kely are like the cutest couple.
Yeah.
Love them. Honestly, like season 3, I didn't dislike any of them.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, and I mean, obviously season 5, I love that one. All right. They talk about possible targets, and she brings up Josh and how close he was to winning, and then brings Moose and Josh. She is excited for him to do their dirty work this week.
Yeah, I mean, again, just this whole conversation with Jacey-Lynne, it's like, why are you trusting her? Like, it's so obvious what she's doing. It's so obvious she doesn't want to be here, doesn't want much to do with you. And yet Marty just, again, he's just so easily manipulated. I just don't understand it. Like, this guy is so snowed by both of them. And I just, like, for what? Like, I don't get it.
She's basically just telling him what she wants to hear.
Yeah.
What do you want to hear? Marty tells a bunch of them he was the vote to send Gino out, and Summer consents Haleena was the other vote. Haleena hopes to keep this secret till the end of the game.
Which again, I think it's working for her. I think her only real obstacle is Summer. But I don't think that.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it would be cool, like if Gino left at some point, like maybe all the girls team up.
I don't know. We need a lot of other things to happen for that to be the case, because this has been a boys club.
Oh, I know.
So. But
yeah, I'm very what's the word I'm looking for? Like very, what's that word I'm looking for?
Impressed?
No.
Excited?
No. I'm blanking on what word I'm looking for. Well, like if Haleena makes it to the end, I'm like, I want to hear what her speech is.
Yeah, curious. You're curious.
Yeah, curious. I don't even know what. Some of these words are just like you blank until you actually like.
I hate when that happens, but yeah, right? I think you're trying to say you're curious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. I was just blanking there. I had a brain fart.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm very curious to like hear what she would say.
Yeah, definitely. Because I feel like she's a very interesting sort of story, and I feel like it could also fill in some holes, because there's some things about Haleena's game that just have been kind of confusing for me, and I feel like if she were to make it to the end, it could maybe give us that clarity a bit. But I don't know if that's going to happen, to be honest with you. I don't know.
I don't know. It's really it's a mystery.
I feel like she's going to get like 5th at this point.
Or 4th, maybe.
I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Marty warns them they will all pay for this. Kevin talks to Marty.
I'm sorry, just the way that he said that, I just could not take him seriously. Like when he's pounding his fist on the table and he's like, "You're gonna pay for this," and I'm just like, "What the fuck are you doing?" What? Like,
Kevin talks to Marty and he once again badmouths Betty and Josh. Marty starts going ballistic and says he was going to leave the game, but has only stayed to get back at them. And then the episode ends with a cliffhanger before we get his nominations.
Which again, I just this whole thing is so funny to me. Like, why was he literally was going to leave the game because he voted incorrectly,
and he was like hitting a table?
Yeah, like one, I don't understand why they didn't intervene at that point, because he was hitting the table. He was freaking people out. He was making people uncomfortable.
Yeah, people were like, what the fuck? Because like they were listening to him through the walls.
Marty is literally unhinged, and like I just feel like if you're gonna leave the game, just do it. Like this is one of those cases where I just don't think Marty's head was like in the game anymore, and I feel like he should have just quit, because if he's that like enraged about what happened, if he has this much and if he has this bad of reads, it's like just leave. Like generally, but it's fine because he's probably leaving next week. So, all right. So we're going to go ahead and get into Wednesday here. And we see that we get this really good moment from Kevin. Kevin kind of got like a mastermind type edit this week, as he should, to be honest. But He talks about how he's very shocked that Marty has forgotten he was behind the vote flip, but goes along with it and lets Marty continue ranting. He apologizes for it and says he just wants to be proud of the way that he played. And he admits he doesn't enjoy being HOH this time, especially with how bad he feels for voting for Gino, and is upset he can't be loyal anymore. This is like the 5th time that he's brought it up. And we see Josh checks in with Marty, and something to remember about this conversation. The last time Josh and Marty interacted, if you remember, Marty wanted to go after Josh. This was on Kyle's HOH, wanted Josh to be the target, talked to Josh, realized he really vibed well with Josh, and they solidified a final 2. Marty completely abandons all of that this week, which seems to be the trend for when somebody wins HOH. It's like any sort of deals that they had, they're just going to like throw it all away and just start something new. And that's exactly what Marty does here. Josh checks in with Marty, hoping that they can have a solid working relationship. And he tells him that he's in his corner. Marty's unsure if that's the case and feels like he set him up, which Josh says that he didn't. He lets him know they were just trying to get Gino out and wasn't trying to pin anything on him. And honestly, like, this should be the end of this conversation. Like, after this, Marty should be able to gain some clarity and have enough trust with Josh to know that Josh isn't going to run him. Like, the way that Josh is talking right now, it seems very sincere, because it is. Like, nothing that Josh is saying is false. And basically, you know, he talks about how the only reason they did that was to get Gino out, and they weren't trying to pin anything on him. And Marty talks about how he doesn't know who he can trust anymore. And again, he just isn't satisfied by like anything here. And I just don't get it. Like, this should have been the end of this conversation, and it's not.
Oh, I know. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah. So Betty talks to him and tells him that she isn't out to get him or play a dirty game. She wants to work with him and continues to play a genuine game. This was not a good pitch, I'll be honest. This was not a good pitch at all. Betty is starting to have the same problems that Jess did, where she's just kind of saying the same pitches to everyone. I think it's because she doesn't really have a lot of allies, and she also hasn't really been in power that much. Well, she actually hasn't been in power at all. She hasn't won a single comp. I think that's really like her problem here, is that she needs a little bit more like agency in the game. And I think that's what's going to hurt Betty. Like, I don't think Betty can win this game. Like, I just don't see it happening. I don't think
so, but maybe. Who knows?
I think a lot of people see her as like she just hasn't done much, which isn't true. I think Betty hasn't done much, but it's because she hasn't really been given the opportunity to do anything. It's not because she's just kind of sit back and not done anything. She just hasn't really been given those opportunities. And I feel like if she was, like, people would take her a lot more seriously. But I think right now a lot of people just aren't taking Betty all that seriously, and that kind of sucks. But so he talks to Jacey-Lynne and Gino and says he wants to move forward with both of them. Something to note in this conversation, Jacey-Lynne doesn't say a goddamn thing throughout this whole conversation. She's just kind of sitting there. She's like, she's just looking around. Like, she does not care at all about this. And somehow like, Marty does not.
She's basically like, get me out of here.
I feel like any rational person, which Marty is very much not, would take note of this conversation and like recognize that something's off here. This isn't the way I need to go. And then he could just put them up. Like, I feel like that's what should happen in this scenario, is that Marty should realize, like, this isn't the way to go. Like, these two are not interested in moving forward with me. And yet for some reason he doesn't, because basically he talks to him how he feels bad about what he did. He wants to move forward with both of them. And Gino says that there are 3 strong players out there, being Hermon, Josh, and Moose. And Marty brings up how Josh would be his target, but then would target Moose if Josh came off. And Jacey-Lynne still is not trusting Marty and isn't really sure if he's actually going to follow through with what they suggested, which again is like completely understandable, because he hasn't really, stayed true to his word. He is such a wild card at this point. It doesn't really seem like he has any consistency whatsoever. So I don't really blame her again for feeling this way. So Moose talks to Marty and says that he trusts him, and Marty asks if he'd be okay with being a pawn, and he lets him know he wants to go after the 2 people behind the vote flip, which are Josh and Betty. He wants it to be initially him and Josh. And again, this is another one of those things where it's like, why not just put both of them up? Like, I didn't understand this move at all. Like, why are you putting someone up like Moose, who was this close of getting evicted last round, would have gotten evicted if he did not win the safety? Like, he absolutely would not have been saved, I don't think.
I don't know.
And like, I just don't understand why he would do that. And it just seems like people don't understand how pawns are supposed to work. Like, you're supposed to put someone up that's not gonna leave. And I feel like Moose could very well leave over Josh because Josh has better connections. And Moose feels that he has a better chance against Betty and feels both of them should just go up overall. So we get to the nomination ceremony here, and this was easily, I think, the worst nomination ceremony of the season so far. We've had some really bad ones, but this one, my God, I mean, Marty could not have handled this any worse. He fully buys into everything JL and Gino are selling, and he puts up Betty and Josh for the week, and he publicly scolds both of them, going on about how they trapped him and they wanted to take him out. And then he goes as far as to literally say that, like, voting him out because he's older and he has, like, shoulder problems is gonna, like, devalue their win in some way. Like, my God, could you have any worse jury management here? This was like the worst possible nomination speech that I think Marty could have given. Like, I don't understand again how he thought this was even a good idea. On paper, this is bad, but actually seeing it play out, seeing everyone's reactions, I just was so appalled by what he did here. Hello?
Yeah, hi. Sorry, my mom was texting me.
Oh, I was talking about Marty's nomination speech and how terrible it was.
Ugh, it was awful.
Yeah, like, especially him being like,
he just doesn't do good speeches.
Especially when him being like, oh, well, if you think taking out someone who's older and has shoulder problems is someone you should backdoor, I don't think you deserve to win BB Can. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, I just didn't understand that at all. I thought that was just way too far and very much uncalled for. But Betty calls him out, as she should, and says that he's the one who voted and he made the choice to vote Gino out and that he should just take accountability rather than blame someone else. And I mean, she's not wrong here. Like, he made the choice to vote Gino out. He didn't have to go with it, and he did. And Josh agrees that he's a hypocrite with how much he was upset over a backdoor plan, but then he betrays them and Betty calls him a liar. That's the other thing, is that the other big problem with Gino this week, he does not clue a single one of his targets that they're the target this week. He doesn't let them in on that. He doesn't talk to them. He doesn't give them assurance, nothing. He just puts them up and just lets them beat it out.
He basically was just like, you know what? Let's just have you guys battle it out.
Which is like the worst possible way to do this, because if you really want like the pawn strategy, what you're supposed to do is tell someone that they're a pawn, but it has to be someone that, like, you know, you're good with. You get in with them. You create you foster some kind of bond, especially at this point in the game. You know, think about what you can do to get to the end. I just feel like Marty is just not focused on that at all. He's so wrapped around the axle over this one little thing that honestly is not that much of a detriment to his game, and he could easily just like move on from if he just put up Gino, but he doesn't want to, and it's going to be the thing that kills his game. 100%.
No, for sure. Ugh, Marty's definitely going to be the house target.
Yeah, for sure. Marty justifies his move by saying that they came at him first, and he says he feels bad for Josh, but with Betty being pissed off, he doesn't care much about it. Acting like a little kid at this point. Like, it's very much like, oh, well, you started it. It's like
a child.
It's like such a weak argument, but Josh talks to Hermon and feels that this was a ridiculous reason to put him up and blow up the final two. And if they can and he brings up a good point and says if they can backdoor Tynesha, he should be okay with doing it to anyone else because he didn't really have any sort of issues with that whatsoever. So Summer goes to Marty to check on him. And my God, this was such an infuriating scene because Summer is just trying to be nice here. She's trying to check on Marty. She sees that he's a little stressed out, talks about how, you know, he's trying to stay out of the drama. Marty just randomly brings up the fact that he knows that she tried to backdoor him with Jess, which is not what Summer did. Like, not at all. Like, yeah, Summer threw out Marty as a pawn, but once Jess shut it down, Summer stayed quiet. Like, Summer didn't try to push for Marty after that. So I don't understand, again, why Marty is so fixated on this. But he continues to victimize himself, believes anything that Jess is saying, going as far as to say that he would have targeted Summer, and she says that they were lying.
Okay, I'm just going to say this. Like, I hated how Marty treated her.
Yeah, no, it's
He
very
was like,
disgusting.
"Get out of my HOH room," and, like, all aggressive, like, he was being so bitchy.
The way he talks down to black women is very gross, and like
Mhm.
there's a clear distinction between like how he talks to Summer and how he talks to say like Hermon. Like there's a very clear difference, and it's like really problematic, and it's one of the things I really don't like, and it's one of the things I feel like we really saw with Marty this week. Like I know people were worried that they were going to give Marty like this hero type edit and that he was going to be the one that's like, you know, sane, but they didn't try to hide it all. They didn't try to hide it all here. Like they very much show just like how disgusting of an individual Marty is. And basically, he asks her to be straight up with him, and she remains firm that he doesn't know what he's talking about, and her conversations never really involved him at all, and that he wasn't an option. And he very rudely is like kicking her out of his HOH, and she calls him dumb and sad that he believes it. And again, this was an opportunity for him to move forward with Summer. He didn't need to do this. This was completely unnecessary. This wasn't something that Summer wanted to talk to him about. Again, just burning allies left and right. Just horrible all around. I feel like
he's just literally like the worst.
I feel like, well, he's not the worst because, you know, he's not the worst because Kyle exists, but he's very close to the worst.
Oh, I know. Like Kyle literally ruined this with Jess and Marty.
Yeah, he really did. So we don't get a veto pick, which
I'm just gonna say that where it says Z Gino, I died.
Oh yeah, I made that typo and then kept it because I thought you'd find it funny.
Gino Z Gino.
Zigino. But we don't get a veto pick, which I thought was kind of weird. We get right into the veto, and we see that Summer, Gino, and Kevin have been selected to play alongside Betty and Josh. And the comp essentially is a series of like head-to-head matches. And this was a lot to take in here because the first one involves rolling a bunch of balls down a ramp and into various holes.
This comp was actually kind of fun.
Oh yeah, I liked it. It was like I like this like triathlon.
I like both the comps actually.
Yeah, they've done a lot of like really different stuff this year, which I like. But the next comp involves a tilting puzzle with them having to make sure the blocks do not touch. Josh and Gino face off against each other, which results in Gino winning. And again, I mean, Josh always just gets so close and never quite gets it. And I'm just waiting for that moment. I'm hoping the moment's going to come soon, Allie, when Josh can finally get that much deserved comp win, but it hasn't happened yet. And it's unfortunate because he's always coming close to it. So the next comp involves a series of balls that both players will have to place on a balance beam. If the balls fall off, they will have to reset them up and start again. Summer makes the worst decision that she could have here, because Summer basically talks about Summer basically talks about she faced off against Gino, much to everyone's dismay. And everyone's kind of like, why did you pick Gino here? Because Gino is such a dominant comp threat. It seems like Summer wanted to throw this to Gino.
Yes.
We will talk about that.
We stand her. Yeah, we stand her tweeting about a malfunction.
Yeah, we will talk about that for sure.
Yeah. But I will say Arisa is amazing.
Yeah, definitely. She is. But basically, we see that there's a series of balls of both players. Summer faces off against Gino, much to everyone's dismay. Gino does end up winning this one. Again, Summer just keeps throwing comps, and I don't really understand it. Like, she said she didn't need to use this veto, and I honestly think she did.
I don't know. I just didn't really get why she chose Gino.
I didn't either. Like, this was like, was she trying to like stay good with Gino because Gino doesn't like her very much?
Right?
Hi, Adrian. But no. Generally, I just don't understand why she keeps throwing comps. But the final comp comes down to Kevin and Gino. This final game, they will have to unscramble a final word with a house guest name. Kevin ultimately does end up winning this one, securing the veto for the week. A really good win for Kevin here. And that's what ends up happening with the veto. Allie's going to talk about what happens in the rest of the episode, though.
All right. Haleena is very happy Kevin has won and the ghosts are in power.
Yes.
Marty feels Betty should go now, and Haleena throws at Hermon with how strong of a player he is, and Marty remains firm that Betty needs to go.
Which, let's be honest here, the only reason Marty wanted Betty out is because Betty talked down to him, and Betty was able to like really just kind of like own him in that way. And he was like, no, I'm not here for that. Like, Marty doesn't like being talked down to. And you can see, especially when black women talk down to him, he doesn't like that. It's really gross. all around.
Marty is very microaggressive.
Yeah, very much so. I mean,
actually, so is Jacey-Lynne.
I mean, yes, but this week definitely Marty was the most blatant out of everyone with the way.
Well, I mean, Jacey-Lynne also just gives like mean girl energy.
Yeah, she does.
Haleena tells Marty Hermon and Gino are working together and running everything, and Hermon will cut Marty when he least expects it. And she says that if he stays, no one will have his back.
And this was a good pitch. Like, generally, I think this was a pretty good pitch here. No, I'm glad that happened as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad they provide receipts. There's something else that did not get talked about this week. There was this whole weird narrative that Betty had some kind of power, and that's why Marty wanted to put her up, and Big Brother did intervene and say this power doesn't exist. So I'm glad that they did that as well, because where did Marty think this? Like, I don't understand how that became a thing. I'm assuming that's why they didn't show it, because they intervened because of what happened there. But yeah, I'm glad that they showed that was not the case there.
Oh, agreed. Like, for real.
Yeah.
Kevin also brings up Hermon to Marty and says that this would be a winning move for him. Yeah. Kevin talks about how he and Haleena are in an alliance with Josh, known as the Crash Test Dummies, and wants to get them as far as possible. Which, I mean, I actually do like this alliance, because they're all very low key and just playing the middle.
Probably the most solidified alliance right now, I would say. Like, if I had to pick an alliance that I feel like this is the alliance that's going to run the rest of the game, this is the alliance that's going to get to the end, it's this one. Like, I don't see these three turning on each other. I don't think they have any reason to. I don't think anyone's, like, recognizing the fact that, like, all three of them are really close. I think they could kind of just, like, run shit if they wanted to.
Yeah.
And with three,
I agree, Adrian.
Yeah, that was really dumb. I didn't understand where that came from. Yeah, no, they didn't show that on the show, but yeah, I was reading like something on Twitter about how like Marty was like really pushing this narrative that like, oh, Betty has a power. That's why Betty's acting this way. You know, Betty always confronts people because she knows that she's safe. Like, Marty was off his fucking rocker this week, and he has been, but like, I've been waiting for that moment where Marty's going to just like fucking explode. And this was that moment. Like,
all right. Oh, Marty brings up the plan to take out Hermon, and Gino says it would be a smart game move and that Betty scares him the least. He says he was building something with Hermon, and Marty feels Hermon would come after him. Gino feels like this HOH is entirely based on emotions, and he is just going to agree for the time being, and Marty plans to blindside Hermon.
Listen, I don't like Gino, but my God, Gino just keeps getting put in the most awkward conversations, constantly having to like just agree to things that he doesn't want to do. Like when it comes to Kyle, when it comes to this, it's like, my God, like I don't like Gino at all, but I kind of feel bad for him. These constant.
Yes, Adrian.
Oh yeah. His
first one he should have just given to Steph.
The first one wasn't like necessarily bad. It was just kind of like boring and basic.
It was.
He didn't really do much to like really save himself. This one, it's like he's gone next week. Like there's no way he gets out of this.
Oh yeah, agreed.
Like there's no way.
He was awful.
Yeah, he really was. But no, again, I mean, him just like pitching this without any sort of say-so whatsoever. And it also completely goes against like what he was talking about for the week, because he said like, I want to do whatever you want to do. You're the one who's going to pitch the noms. I'm going to, it's going to go your way. And Gino clearly did not want to do this. And he just agreed to it because he didn't want to be put up, which I don't really blame him for. But like, my God, Hermon, just like no consistency whatsoever. Like a lot of these house guests, there's no consistency. But Marty is just on another level overall.
Literally. He talks to him and brings up that Summer would be the replacement nominee, and if the noms would stay the same, he would get what he wants. Hermon feels really good after this conversation and feels like Heaven won't be using it, but if not and Summer goes up, he'll keep Josh and then he'd put Marty up next week, even though he'd be breaking his deal with him. He feels like he's in the best spot since no one is looking at him.
This was tragic. This was absolutely tragic to watch because we all know at this point that like he's probably on the outs. Like he's probably on his way out the door and there isn't much he can do to like save himself. So I do think this was a good way to like end the episode, but I do stand by the fact there was no reason to have a cliffhanger here because it was super obvious that Hermon was going up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I didn't understand.
It was so random.
It was very strange. It was they
did?
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I guess we'll watch it after this.
Good, yay. So maybe so maybe it was the thing with Summer that like
Yeah, I guess they had a glitch.
The glitch, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank God. Woo!
Yeah. Probably. But yeah, so that's everything.
Anyways, a girl for HOH. A girl for HOH or Moose or I mean really just anyone except for Marty and well obviously Marty can't or the showman.
Marty can't. Well actually no, we do want the showmans to get it because then they'll flame out and leave.
That's true.
So
that's true.
Like I said, you shouldn't want anyone you like to get HOH because they're gonna they're gonna ruin their game. So yeah, yeah, going back to this whole thing with Hermon, though, like the fact that Marty didn't tell him about the nomination, like initially, I just think was like really bad, especially during this conversation. Like he could have easily like given him that like sort of sign that like he was going to be backdoored. Like this didn't need to be a blindside, and yet Marty wanted to. And again, it's another terrible thing he does in such a horrible week for him. So we get to the veto ceremony, and Kevin does decide to use the veto on Josh. Marty then nominates Hermon as the replacement and says something that, again, is just really uncalled for. He's like, Hermon, I know you love to dance, so dance your way onto the block. It's like...
that is so gross. Like, leave him alone, Marty.
He does not think. He does not think before he speaks, and I just don't understand any of what he's saying and what goes through his mind. So Josh is shocked that Kevin actually ended up using it, and Kevin feels that this has been really good. It really been him and Haleena's week because of how much they've kind of gotten everything they wanted. Like I said, I mean, Kevin just continues to be in the best position here, getting everything he wanted. Nobody really thinking of targeting him except maybe like Summer or someone like that. But it seems like everyone is pretty much like good with Kevin at this point. Yeah, no, BBUS would never take something like that into account. No, they would just like ignore it, sweep it under the rug, it under the rug
because of dumbass Alison Grodner.
Sweep it under the rug, you know.
That's because BB Can is actually very like caring.
Yeah.
But anyways.
So Hermon asks Haleena if she knew this was going to happen, and she says that she didn't, but in reality, of course, she did help. She's pretty much the one who orchestrated it, and he eventually comes to the conclusion that everyone knew that this was going to happen because, you know, Hermon's not stupid. Like, Hermon knew that this was definitely something that was in the pipeline, and he just was unaware about. And Summer talks to Betty, and they seem thrilled that she will be okay this round, and we see Moose is feeling, like, really broken up about the fact that both of them are up, especially with how close he and Hermon have gotten. I really felt for Moose here because it's like he really has to like choose between allies, and Hermon's
I love Hermon and Moose so much.
Hermon has been like his guy the entire game, so like I really did feel for Moose in this situation. But Hermon talks to Marty, and he admits that he is the target, and he questions him as to why. And Marty says he's told him he's targeting people that he's close with, and there's only 2 people that he trusts fully, who he really should not be trusting fully because they don't have his back. But I digress. Hermon tells him to look into the camera, and I loved Hermon being like, look into the camera and tell me that you are a backstabber here. Hermon is just great TV, like all around. Hermon is so entertaining to watch. I've loved all of his like confessionals this season. And he's definitely going to be someone that's missed because I think that he was a very, very entertaining presence on the show for sure. So yeah, Hermon then goes to Jacey-Lynne, and this was probably one of the better Jacey-Lynne moments we've had so far this season.
This was definitely like very impressive.
Yeah, this was actually a pretty good conversation with her because he tries to get her vote and he talks to her about while others are targeting the showmans, he really isn't one of them, yet Betty is. And he brings up how the bigger threats are Marty, Kevin, and Haleena. And she talks about how no one wants to target him because of his comp abilities. And she actually seems to be kind of getting on board with this plan. I was thinking maybe she wouldn't vote Hermon out here. Maybe she's
I was going to think
vote
that
out
too.
Betty. Because, I mean, his plan makes sense. Like, Hermon is going to be someone to target Marty, whereas Betty, we know, isn't good at comps. Betty likely isn't going to win a comp anytime soon. I'd love if she did, but, like, 9 times out of 10, if it's between Hermon and Betty, Hermon's probably going to win the comp. So I thought this was a pretty good pitch from him, and I thought it made sense to keep him around. But Betty does do some good work here too. We see she talks to Haleena and says that Hermon is planning to target her because of the floater game that she's playing, but she'd rather her go far than others who are pinning them against each other. And she's basically on her own minus Summer and Josh, which is pretty much true. I feel like she needs both of them more than, honestly, they need her at this point. So she pitches this to Gino and feels... So Jacey-Lynne pitched this to Gino and feels Hermon is more beneficial for them. And if Betty is gone, Josh would be on his own. And if they let Hermon go, it's just adding to Marty's resume. I thought this made a lot of sense because, like, this is what Marty wants. Marty is doing this in an attempt to, like, have that amazing badass move. Like, he got it done. He got Hermon out. And it's like, we don't want Marty to get his way. Why not just do what we did with Steph? They weren't privy to what happened with Steph, but why not just do that and get Betty out? But of course, you know, we'll talk about what actually ends up happening. So Betty talks to, I just read this. So Josh brings up how, and this was a really funny moment, I think. I actually forgot about the fact that Josh has been, like, hiding his profession, how he is a doctor, but everyone knows that he's telling everyone he's a marine biologist, but he knows, like, absolutely nothing about it. I thought that was a really funny moment overall, the way that all played out. So her mom wants to use his relation with Summer to use to his advantage. She seems very unsure what she wants to do, and he says that he's trying to show her that he's loyal and never really was thinking of targeting her in the first place. And she explains that she feels Betty benefits her more and would be a guaranteed vote on jury for her, but Hermon feels he can get her there better. And I'm just going to say it, like, this would, like, if Summer had actually voted out Betty, this would have been the thing that ruins her game. Like, I don't think Summer realizes how loyal Betty has been to her. Betty has been so close to Summer. She's done everything she possibly can to, like, get Summer further. And if Summer needs Betty right now,
Summer was out first again.
We don't need to talk about that right now because we're going to talk about that in the next week. But going back to this week, when it comes to Summer and Betty, when it comes to Summer and Betty, you're making me lose my train of thought. Okay. Betty is someone that Summer very much does need, and I think that that's something that Summer needed to take into account. And so I was really worried that Hermon was going to talk his way in and Summer would vote out Betty. We'll talk about what happened, but if Summer had voted out Betty, this would have been, like, the worst thing she's done so far.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good for her.
Yeah, so I was really worried here that that was going to happen. But Betty does let Jacey-Lynne know that she's on her side, and Hermon talks with Gino and brings up how much Betty wants to go after them. She comes in as he's saying it, and he brings up how he feels that there are people who are going to be in their direction, but he won't be. And Gino lets him know next week his target is going to be Marty, which again is so funny to me considering that Marty has played this entire fucking week being so obedient and subservient to Gino, doing whatever he tells him to do. Meanwhile, Gino just wants, like, nothing to do with this guy whatsoever. I just think is really funny overall, like, ironically.
Literally. Jail and Summer talk in jail seems generally conflicted. Anything with Jail and Summer is just hilarious to me because they're, like, not friends at all. So it's, like, so fake.
Yeah.
Betty brings up how loyal she's been to Summer and that she will protect her more than the guys will, which is true. She is
Yeah,
generally
definitely.
upset Summer. She is generally upset Summer is considering voting her out, especially after saving her in the chain last week.
Well, she
Which,
has every right to be upset if Summer did vote her out.
oh yeah, it wouldn't be good for her at all.
Yeah.
Josh also seems unsure what to do, but comforts Betty about Summer not voting her way. Arisa then lets them all know whoever leaves tonight will be the first juror of the season, and also lets them know all of the prizes coming their way.
I love the shade when she's like, even though they might think differently, the jury is starting tonight, because another big thing that Marty was pitching this week that they did not show is that Marty was convinced that jury starts next week, and he didn't want Betty in the jury. He didn't feel that Betty deserved jury, so he wanted to target Betty because of that, and that's one of the big reasons that Betty was his target. But again, they decided not to show that. So
Oh,
I just thought that was a nice little dig at Marty.
yeah, their reactions to being like in jury phase. Oh my god!
Oh yeah, that was really funny.
So funny.
Yeah.
Moose is also given the gift of $1,000 gift card for winning the favorite moment of the season so far.
I didn't know this existed. Like, I didn't know this was a thing. Did they talk about this before?
I don't think so. I don't remember, but like, good for him.
Like, I want to know like who voted on this, because like I don't think this is something we knew about. But good for him. Yeah, he got a gift card. Wonderful. But like, I guess that's what we get instead of the doors, which I guess that's never going to come back. Remember how they talked about the doors like week one? We haven't seen
the doors were kind of a flop.
Yeah, I guess they just felt they didn't need it.
Right?
So
Betty gives a pitch thanking everyone. And Hermon brings up that Marty won't tell him where to dance because he does it on his own, and brings up how Marty is a snake and he's here to bring him down, and they should keep him around to get him out.
And I thought that was going to be enough. I thought this was a really strong pitch. It made a lot of sense that Hermon can be the shield for people, but alas, that is not what happens.
I know. Sadly, this pitch is not successful, and by a unanimous vote, Hermon is the next person evicted from BB Can, which I'm actually shocked that Moose at least didn't keep him.
Yeah, I thought Hermon and the Showmans was going to keep him, because I thought he had a really good pitch to both Gino and Jacey-Lynne. I thought his pitch to them was better than Betty's pitch to them. And I thought that they were going to potentially keep Hermon, but no, he's voted out unanimously. I'd imagine they did this because they didn't want to rock the boat too much. They didn't want Betty on, they wanted Betty on their good side. They want to make sure that Marty is the target heading into next week. They don't want any sort of they don't want to rock the boat anyway. So I get why they made it unanimous because of the way the last vote played out. But oh yeah, that was funny. That was funny. I didn't realize that.
I found that hilarious.
He just sitting here holding a hot dog.
He was just casually eating it while she was talking.
Yeah, that was funny. But yeah, I was just very surprised that it was a unanimous vote.
I know. I thought it was going to be at least 5-2 or 4-3 or 6-1.
Yeah, definitely.
Hermon feels like people realized how big of a threat he was, and they turned on him because of it. He isn't shocked Marty did this because of how much of a snake he is, and he feels Moose did what he needed to do, and says the Showmans will get to the end if Marty isn't taken out next week.
Which, I mean, Marty's going to get taken out either way. Even the Showmans wants him out.
Yep. And Arisa announces the next HOH will be Buzzkilled.
Which is currently going on.
Which is currently going on the live feeds. It was just restarted because of a malfunction.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very excited to see who wins. Hopefully it's a good HOH.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm expecting it to be a terrible HOH because we haven't gotten any good ones. Even Gino's, I wouldn't say was necessarily good, but it's probably the best that we've gotten all season. But yeah, final 9 heading into this, like I said, I don't think a lot of people...
I will say, this is only one thing about the HOH, just because apparently Summer's button still wasn't working. I think they should just give her safety.
Yeah.
It would be nice for her, at least this round, just because of the button issue.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, they're gonna have to review it again. I think like they're probably gonna have to restart the comp again.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
Yeah, I actually like that a lot. I
like that. Like
it doesn't happen very often.
So good.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, that does it for our podcast for this week of BB Can. Excited to see how the rest of the season does play out. Anything you want to say before we wrap things up here?
I mean, I'm just hoping for a good week, hoping for a good HOH.
Yeah.
But I like an unpredictable one as well. But hopefully, it's actually a good one.
Yeah.
But
all right. Well, other than that,
also our next one, we're probably going to be in person together.
Yes, our next one's going to be pretty special. That's all we're going to say. That's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you guys in our next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.
Have a good night.